Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs. Morning, DamFam. Got a little bit of makeover over the course of the weekend. And welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Monday, October 27th, 2025. And it looks like it will be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver Ray. And not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corbin Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health doing this Monday morning? I'm, how would I put it? I'm a little meh. I think mostly because I'm tired. But I'll be honest, I had a bit of a disappointing evening last night, unfortunately. But the rest of the weekend was fantastic. Had some great, I think I was probably just a little bit before the weekend, but had some great tennis on Friday. Played that young lady from Ireland that I mentioned before, who was really, really, really good. And I really pushed myself, and I managed to get 2 games off her near the end. She was up 6-0, and I managed to reach my objective of not letting her get to 8. So it ended 7-2, and I actually earned them. And noticed I had a couple of more tricks up my sleeve than I thought I did, because I tried a few things I hadn't before, and turns out they worked. So, but I mean, I tried everything else and it wasn't working, so I had to do something. So that happened, and we had 2 great rehearsals over the course of the weekend. The band has started to come in, and yesterday we did what's called Sits Pro, which is one of my favorite days because, well, by the time where we're at, we're starting to get a little tired. It's less than a month before the show when the schedule really picks up. So the dancing and the singing and the blocking and the acting and the moving set pieces and all that kind of stuff. And we're rehearsing in a school gym that's rather echoey. So, and the rehearsals are getting longer. We're going from 4 to 6 hour rehearsals. So at some point it just becomes a little much. So the Sits Pro is just a day where, for all intents and purposes, we just get to sit. We don't have to dance. We don't have to move sit pieces. We don't have to do anything. And the band comes in for the first time. And we basically sing for them and with them. And then, they arrange when they come in, come out, and, how much extra time they need to put places and time that they need to take out, and, arrange things, of course, according to how we learned the songs. Because sometimes, some people will stylize a little bit and they'll, take a little pause before something, a half beat pause, or jump in a little quicker. So they just make all those adjustments. They're very brilliant and they're very fast because we actually were done half an hour earlier than which we had to schedule time for. So extremely professional. But we get to hear, not perfect, right? Because they all haven't all played together in tune yet and all that kind of stuff, but pretty darn close to perfect. But we get to hear these things, and we finally get a sense of what like the full music will sound like. And eventually they will be there. On the weekends with us, I think starting now on the weekends for every rehearsal, and that really helps with the choreography because, in the choreography, sometimes there's like a drum beat or downbeat that matches a certain movement. And while everybody's just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and only piano's playing, you don't really know where that is. But once you have the drummer that's keeping you on time, then you figure that out. And then, within that, there might be a horn blow at a specific time or whatnot that goes with a specific movement. And then you get these anchors, and that helps, especially if we're doing things in a whole group and we have unison, we can pick up, okay, the arm goes up when the horn goes up, right? And you can match them. So you can link all those pieces together. So yeah. And there are certain pieces also that in the original score, because the stage is bigger and it takes longer to put things in and take things out and all that kind of stuff. There's more time for that kind of stuff, and we don't need as much time, so we're like editing some bars out, but we didn't have the proper music for the dances we are doing because we work with recordings that are supplied by the company at first. So now with the band, we're able to record the actual music we're going to dance to in the show with the proper timing and all of that kind of stuff. So that will help us a lot too, because it's frustrating just never knowing where in time you are when you're a dancer. So yeah, Sits Pro is one of my favorite days, and plus because we're not doing all of that, and we've been working on the songs for a long time, but a lot of us work. On segments apart from each other, so we haven't seen all the numbers yet. So in Sits Pro, we get to hear everybody sing everything for the first time with the band, and oh my god, the first two numbers we rehearsed with the Sits Pro, it was like both of them were pretty much one and done, boom, boom. The other ones, some took some time, like this. There were stops and starts, whatnot, but we just like ran right through them, and it's like we're sitting there going, "That was good, right? Like that was pretty damn good, right? Yeah, that was good." So the first two numbers are we're gonna start strong. That's for sure. Now we have to bring all the other material up. But yeah, Sits Pro is a fun day. But yeah, I came home unfortunately yesterday. Yeah, a slightly disappointing evening. Um, we had plans, and I was very, very, very tired. So as soon as I walked through the door, my beaver sweetie, who was very eager to see me, wanted to jump right in and start the plans. And I said, I just need a minute. And I stretched out on the couch for just like 2 seconds and woke up about an hour later. I was exhausted. And that kind of threw the plans up in the air. So I just I had nothing left. I was exhausted. So yeah, it was a disappointing evening because I was looking forward to those plans and we didn't get to do them. Hopefully we will get to do them another night. But we both had our hearts set on it, and I just didn't have any more juice left in the tank. All right, kids and cubs. Well, anything happened this weekend? Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. So at first we thought it was just a usual sort of Trump temper tantrum. Somebody said something he didn't like and his FeeFees got hurt. No, I'm cutting off trade talks, walking away a little bit like he did with the digital sales tax, I guess. Digital services tax, I should say. Um, Not sure if anybody heard his FeeFees, but he just like decided, oh, I don't like this. I'm calling off the trade talks. I was like, okay, what do we need to do to bring it back to the table? Right. So we thought it was one of these things. And then, well, after making all these claims about Reagan and all this kind of stuff, and that the ad was fraud and fake, and it was none of those things in any way, shape, or form. And even, let's put it this way, um, and accused Canada of cheating and getting caught, and it's like we were doing something duplicitous or sneaky. It's like we bought a TV ad. We put it right out there in public for you to see. You even saw it and said you would do the same thing. And then something happened somewhere along the way where you decided that this ad was the pretext for you to call off talks to go all chicken and waffles again. What it is, who knows? Some people have mused that maybe it had something to do with Mark Carney putting import limits on Stellus and GM cars because Stellus and GM removed some production from here. But that doesn't seem all that likely. However, what could be the thing, because Trump mentioned it in that first social media post, accusing us of trying to influence that Supreme Court decision, is that he is really, really, really afraid, or it's been telegraphed to him somehow that he is going to lose that decision at the Supreme Court, which is surprising because the Supreme Court has showed in an astounding willingness to contort itself in order to please him. So I'm let me put it this way. While I never underestimate the ability of this particular court, especially since for a couple of Republican appointed justices, it seems that there's an adopt a justice program for just $1 million a year. You can keep a justice. You can keep a justice, I guess, based on what we've been seeing. I have to think that, again, when it comes to the cardinal rule, don't fuck with very, very, very rich people's money, there is a chance that that might be where the Supreme Court draws the line. Might be. Maybe. So Trump might have a fear that he is indeed going to lose this case at the Supreme Court. And while there's no other place to appeal after the Supreme Court, right? And Trump is always a winner, right? It wasn't the quote, go, I win, that's what I do, I win. He never loses, right? So if Trump is going to lose this Supreme Court case, it has to be someone else's fault. It can't be because Trump is a big old loser. It can't be because Trump doesn't know more than everybody else about anything else and everything else on the planet, and that his decision to impose tariffs in this way was really dumb and illegal, so much so that the Supreme Court had to smack him down. It would have to be the fault of someone else, like big, bad, mean, nasty Canada, with all our power and influence to be able to go into the United States, and with one commercial influence the Supreme Court, so much so that Trump would lose. Imagine having an ego that fragile. So, not only are there no trade talks, but in a completely and totally ironic twist, there is allegedly 10% more tariffs coming. Because it seems that, well, Doug Ford could have removed the ads right away, and even though Doug Ford announced on Friday that the ads would be removed, or, as Kit Elaine gently correct me, paused, which means they could always be unpaused. The ads did keep on running for the rest of the first two games of the World Series, though. didn't they, Doug? And Mark Carney didn't seem to be too upset by that. I will note. That made Donnie a little mad. And, well, then, given that we didn't take them down right away, we got, we announced, we heard the announcement that there is now a new hashtag Trump hurt FeeFees tariff of 10%. So just so we get a little bit of a picture, we have phantom fentanyl tariffs, 35%. Phantom threats to national security from Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs, 50%. A 12-point FeeFees tariff of 10%. And yes, tariffs do disrupt business flows and all that kind of stuff and make things difficult. But once again, Trump turned around. You hurt my feelings. I'm going to punch myself in the dick. Okay. Knock yourself out. I just, uh, but here's the irony. He's afraid of losing that court case, right? Because the tariffs, you can't do it that way. And he's claiming that, can't remember which one it was, if it's the 232 tariffs or the national emergency ones that are being challenged off the top of my head. But whichever one they are, if those are deemed not legal, surely you used Ronald Reagan's words against me and hurt my feelings tariff will probably be even deemed even more illegal if that were taken to court at some point. I just, seriously. And then you had some people with that whole Ronald Reagan Foundation thing turning around and going, "Oh, no, it's not true." We even had Trump saying, "It's like Ronald Reagan loved tariffs." It's like, dude, did you listen to the video? So, Donald Trump lifted "Make America Great Again" from Ronald Reagan. He lifted "Drain the Swamp" from Ronald Reagan. Now Ronald Reagan's words have been used against him. And Donald Trump calls that fake and fraudulent and whatnot because the ad, as explained, if Andrew Chang from CBC did a wonderful about that, about those things. And the ad itself takes excerpts from Ronald Reagan's speech, some sentences, key sentences, puts them in a different order during the ad. And that's what they are claiming is edited and doctored. But even if that was done in that way, the overall message in the ad is 100% faithful to the overall message in that speech. It wasn't a 1 minute passage from beginning to end just lifted from the speech. It was like 3 or 4 specific areas from that speech talking about tariffs and whatnot put together in an order to make a flow for this commercial. But they are all Ronald Reagan's words, and they are all faithfully used. And you have Donald Trump turning around saying, Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. So while he's accusing people of taking the words of Ronald Reagan, making a fake ad and using them in a fraudulent way, Donald Trump is literally doing that. He wants us all to believe that the President of the United States, who was the first to establish free trade with Canada, I am old enough to remember Brian Mulroney and Ronald Reagan singing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling together on stage. That man who established free trade, the very thing that Donald Trump is trying to destroy, loved tariffs. That's the gaslight. Unbelievable. And now In addition to that, even though it is an ad from the government of Ontario, Trump punishes Canada, breaks off talks with Canada. And now, apparently, even though Trump and Carney are in Asia together because, the APEC, well, not together, sorry, at the same time, because there's the ASEAN and APEC summits going on. Well, Trump has said he doesn't want to talk to Mark Carney for a very long time. Somebody else did something that hurt my feelings, so I don't want to talk to you for. And once again, they say women can't lead because they're too emotional. This is not stable. This is not stable. And of course, back home, well, given the choice of actually, trying to rake Doug Ford over the coals for the decision or whatnot, well, Pierre Poilievre still tries to find a way to blame this on Mark Carney. Everyone who has eyes and ears know that it was a government of Ontario ad. But Pierre can't turn it off. On the other side of the ledger, Premier Zeeby and Premier Wahab Kanu are going, yeah, Doug Ford. Elizabeth May is going, go Doug Ford, go Doug Ford. I saw a clip. Do you ever think you would see a day where Elizabeth May would be cheering Doug Ford on anything? But yep, hopefully I'd be able to find that one. And I don't remember. I think I saw it on a news show, very good, like in a montage of little clips or something like that. And I was just giggling my tail off when I saw that one. And it seems that not only is um, David Eby on board with what Doug Ford has done, but is going to borrow a page from that because it seems that BC is going to launch apparently more diplomatic trade war ads of their own. According to CTV, as US President Donald Trump terminates bilateral trade talks, blaming a trolling ad created by Ontario Premier Doug Ford's government, British Columbia is giving a sneak peek at its own campaign. It will be more diplomatic than Ontario's ad, which includes 30 seconds of a 1987 address by Republican President Ronald Reagan extolling the virtues of free trade and the pitfalls of tariffs. That ad will run through the weekend, then cease. Hours after Trump ended trade talks, BC Premier David Eby hinted that his government would be launching its own ad campaign in the US, and by Friday afternoon had posted a preview, an infographic depicting Canadian industry and American consumers as losers and Russia as a winner in the context of Trump's lumber tariffs. Okay, yeah, that's gonna go over real well. It's like Donald Trump is at least pretending that he's upset a little bit with Vladimir Putin. But here we go. We're going to put some ads suggesting that Russia is winning. So I'm just going to put this out there. There's the preview right here. Trump's lumber tariffs favor Russia winner, and it's like a graphic Russian industry, and you could see it's like the Russian flag going up, showing, but there's no numbers. Right, to say what the percentages are in American consumers and the Canadian industry down. So it's not a graph; it's just a visual representation to make you think it like Russians are going up and everybody else is going down from the government of British Columbia. Yeah, more diplomatic. Hey, Donald, you know that guy that you keep on claiming you're pissed off at because everybody thinks that he's playing you? Yeah, here's another way he's winning over you. Yeah. How you feel about that? Yeah, that won't trigger him at all. No, not at all. Shit. Oh my god. Yeah. Expect a Trump meltdown on that. God. Quote, we certainly aren't going to be spending millions of dollars on ads, but we do believe that some targeted advertisement in the US in particular would be beneficial, reminding communities that are dependent on forest products from BC that these tariffs are higher on British Columbia than they are on Russia, said Ravi Kalan, Jobs and Economic Growth Minister. On Blue Sky and Instagram, EB wrote that the province's, quote, digital campaign will be unveiled next month to explain who wins and who loses. As for Ontario's ad, Callan didn't criticize Ford's approach of reaching directly to Trump's constituents. Quote, we, the provinces, the government, have a responsibility to talk to the American citizens directly, he said. It's our responsibility to ensure they understand that tariffs have an impact on us, but also has an impact on them, their workers, the cost of their goods. So that was British Columbia. From the side of Manitoba, Mr. Wapkadoo decided to do this, which is interesting. It says President Trump's tariffs go against Ronald Reagan's legacy. Doug Ford's ads are good. Keep them on TV.
My fellow Manitobans, Ontario's TV ads present Ronald Reagan's views on tariffs accurately and powerfully. President Trump's damaging tariffs go completely against Mr. Reagan's legacy. And it's clear that these ads are working. If you throw a rock at a lake and you don't hear a splash, you've probably missed. So to my good friend Doug Ford, keep the ads on TV. They're effective, and this country is behind you. My fellow Manitobans.
Well, there you go. And of course, for those who are listening, Kits and Cubs, Wab Canoe, the video of it, it's not just Wab Canoe sitting at a desk, but he's sitting at a desk holding pieces of paper like Ronald Reagan was when he was delivering that address with the background behind him. And it's being shown as if it's on an old TV in an old room from the era. So, yeah. Trolling. The premier has gone trolling. So, getting the sense that some premiers are really pissed off and have had enough of Trump on their own and are having a little catharsis moment here. Now, the usual suspects, of course, Danielle Smith is all out there once again claiming, oh, no, just be nice to the president. Be nice to him. Give him everything he wants. Well, maybe not give him everything he wants, but, you know, uh, the unhelpful, usual kind of stuff that she tends to say here. I remain convinced that the path to a positive resolution with our U.S. partners lies in strong, consistent diplomacy and a commitment to working in good faith toward shared priorities such as North American energy dominance. To that end, I am pleased to see Ontario's ad campaign is being suspended, and I once again urge the federal government to continue negotiating to resolve these tariffs issues and restore a free and fair trade agreement with the United States while diversifying and strengthening the Canadian economy by unleashing our world-class natural resource sector. Okay. You remain convinced that a path to a positive resolution with our U.S. partners lies in strong, consistent diplomacy and commitment to working in good faith. Is that supposed to happen from both sides, Danielle? Because we're seeing consistency from the other side and shit disturbing and flipping the chessboard, but not diplomacy. Lots of insults, but not diplomacy. We ain't seen much good faith. We're not seeing much willingness from the United States to negotiate to even want to resolve these tariff issues, as you say, and restore a free and fair trade agreement with the United States. It doesn't seem they want one. And yes, why we can unleash our world-class natural resource sector to diversify and strengthen our economy, we could do other things too, Danielle. It would really be nice to get your thoughts now and then about some of those other things we could be doing. Thanks for your help. You have Carla Beck, who is the leader of the Saskatchewan NDP, using this opportunity to put some pressure on the government to not allow American booze on the shelves again. And that is a good question, Premier Mo, Premier Smith. You took the move of allowing American liquor back on the shelves again, and you've had it for quite a while now. And so we have enough data since then to see what the Americans have done since then, given your act of conciliation. And it doesn't seem to have appeased the volcano gods. So, why is American booze still on your shelves? What the hell, Danielle? Our friend Tony would really like that. Tony Veer. Danielle, what the hell's going on? I love that song. So yeah. That's what we woke up to over the course of the weekend. Yeah, I said that here, Kentucky. I note all the right-wing contrarians are using the term "poke the bear" as if insisting we comply with all of Trump's tantrums and bullying. I was like, "Y- we didn't poke the bear. I mean, okay, let's say that was poking the bear. We did not throw the first punch. We were just all up here in Canada minding our own business until Donald Trump smashed into our house, started relieving himself on our carpets, and decided to wipe himself with the drapes. And all these right wingers are going saying, Canada, don't you dare say, hey, don't do that. What are you doing? Get out of my house. Or if you're going to do that, for God's sakes, at least use some toilet paper. Right? I mean, come on. This is not serious. Don't poke the bear. Yes, you shouldn't poke the bear. You shouldn't seek to go antagonize someone you know is mercurial and hair trigger. But Donald Trump was okay with the ad until he was not. Interesting tidbit. According to Paul Wells, it would seem, and I went to check it out, Eric Trump, 4 days after the ad started to air on TV, but 4 days before Trump lost his mind, actually went to the Reagan Foundation for a little chit chat because he's got a book coming out. So, not sure if there was another conversation that happened, maybe between Eric and people at the foundation said, "Hey, why don't you say that you're upset with this ad, so that my dad can react to something?" Wouldn't put it be. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities. Just how convenient that there was a Trump at the Reagan Foundation 4 days before all this happened. Man. So yeah, Trump loses his mind. And again, the irony. We're cheating. Mr. 34 felonies. We got caught. The guy who just like tore the East Wing off the White House and tried to do it by stealth. A little bit like Doug Ford did with those trees, actually. Don't show pictures of the back of the east side being torn out. Well, it's too late. He doesn't even have plans drawn for what the new ballroom will look like, but he's already torn down the east side to make sure, the east wing, sorry, to make sure that forever his mark will be. Literally just stand up and get pissed all over the White House. This kind of guy. That's who we're dealing with. That's who we're dealing with. He had a meltdown. We're the favorite punching bag again. Nothing is about what anything is being claimed it is about. Because again, how do you go from seeing an ad and saying, "Hey, bragging, I see the nations are taking ads against tariffs," like this, well, probably what I would do in the same spot, to this, what's going on right now. I'm cutting off trade talks. I'm putting on another 10% tariff. Vague, undefined, on what, when, don't know. And I don't want to talk to Mark Carney for a very, very, very long time. I mean, what is that? What do you do with that? Now, Donald Trump is known to be the type of person who likes to throw wrenches into things and pull the rug out from under you to try to destabilize you and get you on the back foot and on the defensive, so you're more willing to go, no, I'll make a deal, make a deal. What do you want? Just tell me what you want. Well, Mark Carney doesn't seem to play that, because based on everything I've seen of Prime Minister Mark Carney since all of that has happened, he's just going about his day. Well, we've been saying since the beginning that we control the things that we're going to work on, the things that we can control, and there are things we can't control. I think I know what the thing we can't control is. Seems to be pretty obvious, doesn't it? So, while Trump is having a meltdown, Mark Carney is like, well, I guess he'll do what he'll do. And, well, yeah, when he's cried himself out and wants a little attention again and stuff like that, I guess he'll call. And, well, when he does, we'll be ready to pick up the conversation where we left off. Meanwhile, watch me in Asia, talking to the leader of the Philippines and Singapore and Vietnam. Look at this deal I signed here, this agreement I signed here, and this memorandum of understanding I got here. Doody. Just, he's the perfect embodiment of keep calm and Carney on. There's literally this entire tangerine tornado going on at this end. And Mark Carney's like, yeah, he'll do what he'll do. And we'll do what we do. We have a contingency plan. We've always had a contingency plan. You're going to see our contingency plan. It's the budget on November 4th. You know it. We've been talking about it. Diversifying major projects, defense contracts, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're still doing that. We'd be doing that anyway. So while he's out doing what he'll do over there, we're just going to spend more time doing what we're doing over here. And when he's ready to talk, well, we'll be there. I love it. I love it. It's like the shadiest damn thing. It's perfect. It's literally that battle of tone and countertone. One guy is losing his mind and the other guy's like, oh, well, he is prone to doing that. Oh my God. It's again, I'm such a geek. I know, but this is the kind of stuff I love and I live for. So yeah, it all goes back to that, that saying, there's no one more sad than a neglected attention whore. That's really what's going on with Trump right now. He wants so much attention at the moment. Probably also wants to draw attention away from a few things. A lot of people starting to use the word murder when it comes to what he's doing in the waters by bombing all those boats and stuff. Yeah, maybe wants to change the channel from that He's not really getting close to any of that Trump-Putin meeting there. So that's not happening. That ceasefire, a little shaky. A little shaky. Might not last. And, there are certain things happening, unfortunate things, but certain things happening. Like, for example, it seems that about 2 weeks ago, there was a major fire at Novelis aluminum plant. And Novelis aluminum plant is very important because it is a key player in the auto industry supply chain, particularly for Ford, maybe a little, as well as Toyota, Hyundai, Volkswagen, and Stellantis. But Ford, in particular, because of this fire, apparently is going to take about $1 billion hit because it seems that Novelis' Oswego plant produces about 30 to 40% of U.S. auto aluminum supply. And yeah, got hit, according to Syracuse.com. The company confirmed Thursday that fire last month at Novelis aluminum plant in Oswego County will chop up to $1 billion off its earnings between 2025 and 2026. In its third quarter earnings report, the company said its 2025 adjusted before interest and taxes will take a $1.5 billion hit. Wow. That is pretty impressive. 1 point hit from the disruption the fires caused to its truck production. I think it's the Ford F-150 Lightning that is produced there, if I'm not mistaken. The Ford team, including myself, have been on site at the Novelis plant in Oswego, New York. Jim Farley, Ford president and CEO, said in a statement, "We are working intensively with Novelis and others to source aluminum that can be processed into the cold rolling section of the plant that remains operational, while also working to restore overall plant production. We have made substantial progress in a short time to minimize the impact in 2025 and recover production in 2026. Yes. Oh, darn. Yeah. It's such a shame that, well, you could probably get such aluminum from Canada, but now it costs you 50% more. Such a shame. Hmm. The hot mill is where aluminum ingots are heated as part of the process that turns them into sheets of rolled aluminum. Other parts of the plant suffered water damage but have reopened. Novelis said earlier this month that it expected to be able to reopen the hot mill in the first quarter of 2026, but on Thursday, the company said it has accelerated the timing of the mill's reopening to the end of December. Okay. We are dedicating the full strength of our resources to recovery and working 24/7 to restore the hot mill and repair the building. We have made considerable progress over the past few weeks, which has allowed us to accelerate our timing. The repairs include rebuilding 40,000 square feet of the mill's total roof surface of nearly 1.5 million square feet, she said. Thompson said the cause of the fire is still under investigation as we continue to gain more access to the hot mill area. Analysts estimated earlier this month that Ford's earnings could take a hit of up to $1 billion because of the disruption. The Novelis plant is a major supplier of aluminum sheets that Ford uses to make body panels for its trucks, including its popular F-Series pickups. Ford said Thursday it plans to increase its F-150 and F-Series Super Duty production by more than 50,000 trucks in 2026 to meet demand and recover from production losses caused by the fire. The company said it will add a third crew at its Dearborn truck plant at Fort Rouge complex in Michigan for F-150 production and additional employees at its Kentucky truck plant in Louisville for F-Series Super Duty assembly. In total, it will create up to 1,000 new jobs. F-150 Lightning assembly at the Rouge Electric Vehicle Center will remain paused as the company prioritizes gas and hybrid F-Series trucks, which are more profitable for Ford and use less aluminum. Once known for making aluminum beverage cans, the Novelis facility in Scriba near Oswego switched its focus to supplying aluminum for the auto industry in 2014. It employs 1,150 people, making it one of Oswego County's largest employers. So yeah, that's the one thing that you gotta also factor in to the equation is sometimes stuff just happens. 40% of the aluminium that the auto industry needs is suspended, has been suspended for about a month, and will be so until some point in December. It's too bad they can't turn to an old reliable friend to get what they need at a reasonable price anymore. So yeah, uh, that's the situation as it stands. There's been a surprising amount of non-reaction from the Canadian side, except of course from conservative circles, which are always losing their minds. But everybody else seems to be uh, quite not quite okay with this, but unsurprised and now no longer willing to jump to any emotional states as a result. It doesn't engender fear or panic anymore that Trump is cutting off trade talks like it once were. It doesn't incentivize us to wanting to make a concession because let's say the narrative the conservatives are using is true. We conceded the digital services tax and got nothing for it. Let's say that that's the case. It's not, but let's say that that's the case. Well, now that Trump has walked away from the table again, the last time we did, we gave him what he wanted, and it still got us to a point where he walks away from the table again. So a lot of people suspecting that Trump may have wanted bigger concessions from Canada than we were prepared to make as the deadline gets closer, because Donald Trump knows that Canada would really like to have something on paper before the budget on the 4th. So using that date maybe to try to squeeze us and us saying, no, we're just not going to make those deals. And now he's upset because he's not getting everything he wants. It could be as simple as that. Could have to do with the Supreme Court decision, as we mentioned earlier. Could simply be that his FeeFees were hurt. But usually, if Trump is making a scene like this, he's trying to distract or deflect from something else. Typically. So, or he's trying to pre-frame some bad news that's coming. That's why I'm mentioning the Supreme Court decision, because a lot of what Trump does is pre-framing, setting the frame on the discussion that is to come, so that the discussion happens on the terms that he prefers. So this would be one, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court. If the decision would not go his way, because I think arguments have just started being heard on that case. Anyway, we'll see where this ends up eventually with this. But yeah, it's not the most comfortable situation. Indeed, it is unstable. That's the point. It does make it such that makes everything much more difficult to handle, to predict. If we want any predictability or stability, that kind of stuff, this flies right in the face of it, which is very sad, because that's really what we need at this time, but not at any cost. Not at any cost. Because there's nothing to prevent. How would I put it? The negotiation is never, ever, 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 ever over with this man. Right? I mean, we just renegotiated Kuzma. Right? It was the best thing ever. And all of a sudden, it's not good enough. Right? So the trade negotiation never, ever ends. So what's the point? What's the point of making more concessions? They don't earn us anything. That's assuming that we got nothing for the concessions, as made obvious by some of the comments that the Prime Minister made lately. What we got for the digital services taxes is Donald Trump signing that executive order that stated that the Kuzma compliant trade would not be subject to tariffs. That changed it from a situation where only about 35% of what we were trading was not tariffed to about 80 to 85%. So that was a big win on our part. Conservatives will never acknowledge it, but it was. So it could be maybe they really want in on supply management, and we're just saying no, that's a red line for us, and Trump is losing his mind. Maybe Trump is trying to, um, you know, I don't know, because they really need aluminium. Steel, a little less, but aluminium, the big statistic that's going around is to uh, be able to generate for themselves what it is they get from Canada. They would have to first build the equivalent of 10 Hoover dams, right? I think the Prime Minister was making this point in one of his speeches while he was in Europe. Does the United States want to spend, not Europe, sorry, in Asia, does the United States want to spend all that time and money building those 10 Hoover dams before they can make the aluminium that they need to maintain their auto supply, or would they just prefer just keep on getting that from Canada by being reasonable and spending all that money, whatnot, on building the infrastructure they need for AI data centers and stuff like that, which is where they want to go? It's up to you in the United States. What do you want to spend your time and money doing? Because you won't be able to do it all. You're going to have to pick a few things. And that's where the Prime Minister is a little more confident that eventually we'll be able to get to this type of resolution, because at some point, right, this is going to happen. We're also getting closer and closer to the point in the United States where any reserves that had been stockpiled before are getting near to the end. And now people are starting to pay the full tariff price for things. And that's going to create some more pressure from the inside. Because there's already plenty of pressure from the inside already from the United States when you consider the $40 billion deal that the United States has made with Argentina, which is pissing off American cattle farmers in particular, and soybean farmers in particular, because China is not buying many soybeans from the United States anymore, but it seems that they have started buying some from Argentina. And right now, Donald Trump is ensuring that there's like $40 billion in capital accessible to Argentina, who is taking away soybean business from U.S. farmers. Yeah. And that there'll be probably more purchasing of Argentinian beef when there are U.S. cattle farmers that need help. So yeah, this thing is not, there's just going to be more and more pressure on him as time goes on. Now, the question is, of course, is whether or not that makes him more erratic. But maybe, if that is the case, maybe members of Congress on the Republican side who are in swing state seats will really decide that it's time to come to an agreement with Democrats on a few things, particularly with regard to the power to tariff, which is supposed to be a congressional power. They might want to take that back at some point. We'll see. But Carney does not seem to be, if he is concerned in any way, shape, or form, it is not appearing in his game. So whatever Trump is, if Trump is trying to flap his wings very hard and use all this emotionally charged language and threats and trying to put the screws to us to try to get us to knock us off balance, so that when we are off balance, we might be willing to give away too much, or in a panic, make a decision that wasn't well thought through, or slip up. I think he's got the wrong guy when it comes to Mark Carney. It seems that he has the wrong guy. Said, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But yes, it's something. According here to iPolitics, amid ongoing uncertainty over U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to hit Canadian products with an additional 10% surcharge in retaliation for a now paused anti-tariff ad campaign launched by the Ontario government, kind of makes me wonder whether or not, if the World Series comes back to Toronto for a couple of extra games, whether or not those ads will be unpaused. Because that would be such a terrible thing now, would it? I'm not petty at all. Oh, and by the way, given that Trump is doing this, Mr. Carney and Minister McGinty, Minister of Defense, today would be a really good day to announce that we're going with the Gripen. Just saying. Trump wants to slap an extra 10% tariff on him. Let's show him that we can take some money elsewhere. Just saying. But of course, that would probably be poking the bear too, and we probably don't want to do that right now. But for me, that would be just the Minister of Defense. I'm not going to say anything, but I take note of that. Hold the one. Put the little marker in my filing cabinet up here, and that becomes a factor when weighing whether or not we're going to continue with the F-35 or Gripen. I mean, do we really want a joint operability airplane, the updates, the software of which might need to be approved first by another nation, and they determine at any time whether or not we get it or not, all that type of stuff. Is that something we want to do with someone who's that mercurial, especially since Steve Bannon has been going all around stating that there is a plan for Trump to still be president in 2028? Or do we want to maybe note this particular happening and put it on the pile of all the things that tell us that this father mucker is unstable? Run! Run in the other direction. And I'm noticing all these people turn around and say, you're never going to replace the trade with the United States. We're just like, yeah, I understand we have geography and whatnot and all that kind of stuff. I said, you can't switch it overnight. But let us not also underestimate the fact, right, that yes, the European market, while it is rather saturated and rather well developed at the moment, is over 400 million people. Mexico is close to 200 million. And then Indonesia is the fourth largest nation in the world in terms of population and is a member of ASEAN, which has a very significant nation, ASEAN nation, significant percentage of the world's population. When you add them all together, they make up more people than the United States. And even though the United States purchaser on the world, in the world on average, has the most with which to purchase, so it's not just a strict question of replacing bodies, but overall ability to buy stuff. It can make a big dent, right? If the goal of the prime minister is to double our trade with nations that are not the United States within 10 years, there are plenty of players with whom we have very good relationships, with whom we could do that and establish even more. We are not helpless by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to require some work. It's going to require some time. Yes. Doing things differently, learning new patterns, making new friends. Yes. That doesn't happen overnight. But we have options. A very substantial amount of business we do with the United States can indeed be replaced. Right? And while trade with the United States will never get to zero, because there are certain things that the United States absolutely needs from us, and there's things that we absolutely need from them. But the more we can reduce trade between ours two to just those essentials, and for everything else, there's another country. At this point, I don't see why not. The goal is not to get trade to the United States with zero. The goal is to get trade, to try to have as much trade with the United States that is healthy for both of us as we can, given it should be easy and given, the bonus practicalities of a close geography and sharing a border. But to do as much quality business with as many other people who like to follow basic, pre-established, predictable, and stable rules. That's the best way. So these all or nothing counter arguments that you get from the right. You're never going to eliminate trade completely. Look at the world you live in. Look at how much oil and gas and carbon you use. You can't get by a day without it. Well, nobody's talking about us getting by a day without them right now, tomorrow. But we are talking about weaning ourselves off as much as possible so that only the most essential things that we cannot do any other way are the things we use carbon products for. And for everything else, there's an alternative. Why don't you go back and live like a caveman? Well, nobody wants to do that. That's just silly. Right? So these counter arguments that are absurd to the point of the ridiculous, right? It's like it either has to be everything or nothing. You can't acknowledge, but there's core reality. And even when they want you to acknowledge, they use it the other way. You need to acknowledge that we're only going to be using plastics or something. Okay, yeah, maybe. We can't replace everything. But you still haven't made a case for which we should not replace that which we can. Right? That's what we're talking about right now. So you always have to be careful when you're getting these types of arguments, because those arguments are designed to make you feel a sense of hopelessness and inevitability, that the task is impossible, so there's no point in even starting. But they always frame the task. You didn't eliminate drunk driving completely. Yeah, there will always be people who drive when inebriated. But we sure have reduced it by a hell of a lot, haven't we? Right? Something that doesn't eliminate a problem entirely is not worthless if it does work to eliminate a certain portion of the problem or a certain percentage of it. So you have to remember with that other side, they want to look at every single thing in isolation, disassociated from context, from its reality. This one thing that you wanted to do didn't solve the problem, the entirety of the problem. Therefore, it's dumb and stupid. We wasted our time. But that's not how the world works, right? If you want to solve a problem, often you have to have layers and layers and layers of solutions. Okay, this caught this, but this still fell through the cracks. So we put another layer there. We put another layer there. And at one point, you hope, for example, if you consider every potential solution or portion of a solution as being a slice of Swiss cheese, right? It blocks most of it, but there's still some that gets through. If you put another slice of Swiss cheese under that, and another slice of Swiss cheese, and another slice of Swiss cheese, at some point with all those slices of Swiss cheese, there's going to be no way through all the holes for anything to get through from top to bottom, and you will have solved the problem. Conservatives like to look at every single slice of individual Swiss cheese and say, it's insufficient, it's not good enough, so why even bother put it there? And if you follow conservative philosophy, then you never get to the point where you've layered enough slices of Swiss cheese to actually solve the problem. When people keep on attacking planks of a solution as being insufficient and therefore not worth it, these are people who do not want solutions. These are people that want the problem to persist because there's something in it for them, that the problem continues to persist. And that's why the language is shaped that way. So don't get discouraged. This can be done. But as the Prime Minister says, it will take time. It will take some discipline. And yes, it will require a sacrifice or two somewhere along the way. On that front, you will also notice that conservatives have been running to the microphones and going, oh my God, the youth have suffered enough. Prime Minister went into a room full of kids and told them that they're going to have to sacrifice. What more are kids going to have to sacrifice? And you know what? I get that. Right? If you were born in 2003, you were 5 when the 2008 economic crisis hit. That wasn't fun. And it may be affected you in ways you do not know yet. And then, right, we have what's going on in Ukraine. We have continued environment degradation. And that's the future that those people are going into. We have AI coming. We had COVID. That definitely, if you were born in 2003, you were 16 when COVID started. That wasn't great. You're 22 now. And Trump's going on. Yeah, of course. Things are tough. Things are hard. Your vision of the world is way different than mine. Way different than mine. When the prime minister said, when there was a lot of tumultuous change in my time, like this, we were looking towards a brighter, more hopeful future. Now this one's different. But for Polyev and the conservatives to then be going to the microphone and saying, the prime minister asked you to sacrifice. The prime minister asked all of us to sacrifice more. The address was for all of us. It happened to be delivered in a room at the University of Ottawa where there were students. But the sacrifices are going to be required of all of us. So for the conservatives to be going around trying to make it such that the prime minister said it's only them that is going to have to make sacrifices, they're not saying, the prime minister said, only you will have to carry the sacrifices. But they're not talking about anybody else having to carry them, only the portion, right? So it does create that, it's fuzzy enough for people to then take it, oh my God, they're going to put it all on us? Yes. And the rest of us, we've taken a lot of hits too since 2008. Some of us, of course, are more or better equipped to handle it, right? We keep on talking about that K-shaped economy where the people on the top are doing really, 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 really well and the people on the bottom are not, right? We mentioned that on their show. When we're looking at the data, we need to be looking at the data in different strata now. Right? If you've got stocks, if you've got investments, in particular if you're invested in precious metals, you're doing really well right now. But if you're not, if you have a house and the Bank of Canada keeps on cutting interest rates, you're doing better right now. But if you don't, and your rents are just going up, like there's two different stories going on in this nation, the United States as well, depending on where you sit on the totem pole, for lack of a better word. Oh my God, I know I probably shouldn't use that term that way. Depending where you sit in the hierarchy, in the social order. Sorry, I apologize for using that term in that way. But yeah, it's not good for the people who have it rough. It's really not good, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse more quickly. Right? So we do have to find a way to be a little more empathetic and to be more concerned about not just ourselves, which is hard to do in a time where, like I said, somebody is making the ground under us not as firm and as stable as we would, as we are used to it being. So when all of us are on shaky ground, we tend to turn our focus inward more. Right? First, put on your own mask before you help someone else. That's a natural human instinct. But in those times, we have to pay much more attention to the fact that we might be closing ourselves off to the situations of others, especially the further they are away from us in points that we can recognize, right? Even within our own country. Because the more they don't look like us, they don't worship like us, they don't speak like us, the more there are social distances. It becomes harder and harder to empathize, or it can become easier and easier to lose empathy. So we have to pay more attention while we're making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, that we are not so seized with the immediacy of now that we close ourselves off to noticing that things might be much more different and much more pressing for other people, and especially people whom, like I say, may not look like, sound like, whatever it is, like us, but are still part of our society and part of our Canadian family. Because the thing here is that I'm seeing a lot of these comments right now going on. Trump is doing what he's doing, and people turn around and say, the liberals this or conservatives that. This is a moment. It's an all Canadians moment. Whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, whether you're new Democrat, whether you're Bloc Québécois, these additional tariffs, this type of treatment hurts and hits us all. Right? So when you're coming back, when this happens, and say, "Oh, the damn liberals, whatnot, or the damn conservatives," because you're the one that's being divisive. You're the one that's being divisive at the moment. There was this person, one of these troll accounts that always bashes the Canadian government and always amplifies everything that Pierre does. Um, they were like making this type of point, trying to blame this on one side. I think it was like, there we go. President Trump never told Americans to boycott Canada. Canadian politicians did tell Canadians to boycott America, boo their anthem, don't travel there, buy Canadian goods. Big difference. No, I don't think Canadian politicians told Canadians to boo the anthem. I think that's something we just did. But what's the big difference? Trump never told Americans to boycott Canada. Yeah, that's because Trump repeatedly made clear he no longer wants there to be a Canada to boycott. You know? It seems that nobody has told these maple syrup maggots that they got to take their tongue out of Trump's colon long enough to hear all the words he's saying. Trump didn't tell Americans to boycott Canada. Trump doesn't want there to be a Canada. Did you miss that part? These are people. These are the people that would have showed up to that first negotiation, face down, ass up, no lube, and taken whatever Trump offered and said, we got a deal. And then 3 months later, the leopard would have come and ate their face because whatever deal they had, they would have found out they didn't have a deal. Like many of these nations have already learned. Because Trump can slap a tariff on you at any time, like when he has hurt FeeFees, like we're learning. There is never a deal. The negotiation is never over with this man, ever. Anybody online, any politician that wants to make you believe that there exists a situation with Donald Trump where you can go into a room, strike a deal, and that will be the deal, henceforth, they're not paying attention. They haven't yet figured out how the game is played, yet they're purporting to tell us they're going to be able to play the game better than anybody else. Oy. All right, let's see if there's anything here in the chat from the kids here. Let's see. The left is not good at focusing on what's best for all. Witness canceling pride parades for small group priorities. I think that might be discussions about other things here going on in the chat. Yes, indeed, some stuff about Turning Point and what Jamil Javani and all that kind of stuff is doing. All right, so there you go. All right. Nothing particular in the chat there that I can see relating to the particular topic. Of course, I haven't had a chance to be following the chat all the way through because I've been looking at clips and articles and stuff to make sure I had proper information for you here, kids. All right. Let's talk about the Prime Minister in Asia at the moment, because he is at the ASEAN summit. And a little earlier this morning, I believe he was giving a conference and giving us a little bit of an update on the things that he has been talking about and doing there. And there are some very, very interesting things that he had mentioned in it. And of course, there were lots of questions with regard to what's been going on with Trump. And we'll get a little bit of an example of his attitude and his stance here that I've been talking about. But the first part here is talking about some of these things are things that I've mentioned in the sort of whole blurb there that I've been given to you about things that have been happening over the past few days and how things have evolved. In this here, Prime Minister Carney is giving us a tiny little bit of an update on the budget and also talking to us about some of the business that he has been able to cobble together while he has been in Asia so far. So I'm having a little bit of trouble here, kids and cubs. Pardon me. And here we go. I think this should do it right here.
On November 4th, our government will table the first federal budget, our first federal budget. And that'll be our plan to protect our communities, our borders, our way of life. Our plan to build a stronger economy where everyone has a chance to get ahead. And our plan to empower Canadians with new opportunities, better careers, and a lower cost of living. Central to those missions is our intention to double our non-U.S. exports over the course of the next decade. That alone will generate $300 billion in more trade, new orders for Canadian resources, Canadian industries, and Canadian expertise. I chose my summit for my first visit as Prime Minister to Asia because the Canada-ASEAN relationship is full of potential. This is a region of nearly 700 million consumers with a market worth over $5 trillion. It's already Canada's second largest trading partner with over $260 billion in two-way merchandise trade alone. Yet, even at those levels, it still only represents about 10% of our exports. To build those exports, to double our non-U.S. exports, our government is working to strike a series of new trade deals, including here in the Indo-Pacific. In the past few months, we've signed new agreements with the United Arab Emirates in artificial intelligence, with the European Union in defense and broader trade, with Germany in critical minerals, with Mexico in agri-food. We signed a free trade deal with Ecuador that reduces or eliminates tariffs on the majority of Canadian exports. And last month, in Ottawa, we concluded a historic free trade agreement with Indonesia, Canada's first bilateral free trade agreement with an ASEAN nation. This week in Kuala Lumpur, we agreed to accelerate progress on a new Canada-ASEAN free trade agreement, targeting completion of that agreement next year. Yesterday, I met with the Prime Ministers of Laos and Vietnam, as well as the President of the Philippines, to move those talks forward. Now, That deal would add about $1.5 billion to our economy, giving Canadian workers and businesses greater access to this fast-growing market. In fact, probably, arguably, the fastest-growing market in the world. And would create jobs for Canadian workers in sectors ranging from critical minerals to clean tech, agri-food, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing, all while lowering prices for Canadian consumers on goods like electronics and clothing. In addition, President Marcos of the Philippines and I agreed yesterday to launch talks on a new free trade agreement between our two nations, again with the goal of concluding that agreement next year. This week, we also made significant progress on energy. Today, Canada and Malaysia signed a letter of intent to deepen investment in liquefied natural gas, in oil, nuclear power, and renewables. I met with the CEO and the senior management of Petronas, one of the world's largest energy companies and already a major investor in LNG in Canada, LNG Canada Phase 1, LNG facility in Kitimat, British Columbia. Now, Phase 2 of this project will double production, making the project as a whole the second largest LNG facility in the world, creating tens of thousands of new high-paying Canadian careers. That project, Phase 2, has been referred to our new major projects office because we want it built, and we want it built faster to the benefit of Canadians, including Indigenous partners in the project.
So there you go, kits and cubs. Lots of things mentioned in there. And yes, I think it was Kit Bucky here that was saying here. It was the first time I heard him lay out the full strategy in terms of how much business we are doing, excluding the U.S. Yeah. Sorry, that's Kit PNC Bio, not Kit Bucky here. Certainly nothing groundbreaking for anyone who's been watching it all along, but it was a good description of all the deals, etc., that have gone on since April. Indeed. Indeed. And in there, like I said, said talking about things we've done before, like negotiating the deal with the Ecuador and Indonesia on free trade, whatnot. But now talking about a free trade deal with the ASEAN nations, as we have mentioned before in a previous show, talking about one with the Philippines as well. Just all these different types of things that he's put in, that he's been doing there. There was a whole list in there, as you mentioned, and it's pretty impressive when you look at it together. The new deal with Malaysia, for example, for LNG as another market. Prime Minister in there said that by the end of this decade, Canada will be able to produce nearly 15 million tons of LNG each year, enough to supply Singapore 5 times over. And he's heading to Singapore to have meeting with the leaders there. And that production could be doubled again by 2040, according to him. Then he continues talking about more deals and agreements that he has struck while he has been there. Or doors that he's opened, or groundwork being laid for future deals, having to do in the areas of technology, and as well a little bit of progress when it comes to military cooperation.
Canada's also unlocking new opportunities in technology. Canada's BlackBerry offers its Cybersecurity Centre of Excellence here in Malaysia. And we announced an investment to expand that centre into an international hub for cyber intelligence and security innovation, something I discussed this afternoon with Prime Minister Ibrahim. Today, I visited CAE, with whom Malaysia Airlines has just signed a deal to purchase another Canadian-built flight simulator. And I met the CEO of AirAsia yesterday about a potentially large order for A220 planes designed and built in Quebec. These are the kinds of partnerships we will keep building because Canada has what the world wants. World-class talent with expertise in clean technology, artificial intelligence, life sciences, and quantum computing. We're the world's number one destination for master's degrees and doctorates. We have the most educated workforce in the world. We're an energy superpower with the 3rd largest reserves of oil and the 4th largest reserves of natural gas. We have an 85% clean grid, which we can readily increase by another 50% to power clean manufacturing, clean AI infrastructure, and the electrification of our sustainable economy. We have deposits of over 34 critical minerals, and we're amongst the top 5 producers for the 10 critical minerals most essential for the world's energy transition. Over the next 5 years, we will be quadrupling our defense industrial spending, strengthening our role in collective security and creating new careers in our defense and associated industries. Next week, Canada's Defence Minister will be in the Philippines to deepen our cooperation with Southeast Asia, expanding access for the Canadian Armed Forces for training and joint operations in the Philippines, strengthening our shared commitment to regional stability.
And there you have it, kits and cubs, additional deals or advancements in the field of tech, of course. And if you see some military cooperation with the Philippines, I believe we had mentioned that on a previous show that was in the works as well. It seems that there's some progress being announced with regard to it. We get to more of the question and answer part here in the press conference. And Prime Minister, when asked, has mentioned that he has not had no contact with Trump since Thursday. And of course, it was revealed in the questions, but I'm sure that Trump has made it clear through some social media that Trump says he doesn't want to meet with Carney for a long time. Let's take a little bit here at what it is that Mark Carney has to say with regard to the relationship. And here you will notice, this is the part where I'll say you can see that the Prime Minister doesn't seem to be particularly impressed with anything that's going on, and doesn't appear at all in any way to be thrown off his game. Prime Minister has mentioned in other speeches that he has a 2-track plane here, and the first one is to try to negotiate the best possible deal that there is available with the United States, and the second one is to diversify the trade and to do the things that we need to do here in order to maximize what it is that we've got to send out to the world, and then increase our capacity to be able to actually do that, send that out to the world. So he's working on 2 things at the same time. And the second one is something that we need to do anyway, but it also happens to be our contingency plan for if things with the United States keep on going south, for lack of a better word.
We stand ready to sit down with the United States, myself with the President, my colleagues with their colleagues, when the U.S. is ready to sit down. We had made considerable progress on a supplement to the trading relationship that we had, considerable progress in the areas of steel, aluminum, and energy, associated areas as well. And as I just said, we're ready to sit down when they are ready to do that. If they're not ready to do that, as those comments indicate, then we were always going to do these things, to be clear. We're going to first and foremost build our economy, build it with generational investments, and you will see that not just the scale of the ambition, but the speed with which we put that into effect in the budget on November 4th, and continue to do what we've been doing over the course of the last few days and over the course of recent months, which is to build those other partnerships and deepen those other partnerships on which we're getting very much traction. Thank you.
So that, if you're paying attention, is diplomacy and euphemism speak for, oh, we see the toddler's crying again. Well, we'll let him cry himself out. And when he's done, we'll be ready to talk to him again. Pretty much what he said. Meanwhile, we'll be living our best lives. We are totally and completely unbothered by this. He goes on.
Next question, Murray.
Hi, Prime Minister. Murray Brewster with
Hi,
CBC News. President Trump says he's canceled these trade talks because he's upset about the Ontario government ad. We've heard from the Business Council of Canada and even some of President Trump's own advisors who suggest the frustration with Canada runs deeper. So is this about the ads or is this about something else?
Well, look, as I say, and there were a series of very detailed, very specific, very comprehensive discussions, negotiations on the areas I just listed to in response to the previous question, up until the point of those ads running. First point. Second point, I would suggest you take the president at his word for his reason. And that is the reason why, from the perspective of the federal government, which I'm responsible, we stand ready to pick up on those discussions when the United States wishes to pick up on those discussions. So those in the room, those exchanging term sheets, those having the discussions about specific areas where we can make mutual progress to the benefit of workers and businesses and communities in our respective countries, had been making progress. Those ads came. The president had the reactions which you have seen, made the decisions that he has made, which, you know, those are his decisions to take, and we're in the situation we're in.
Follow-up? As a follow-up, Prime Minister, given everything that we've seen, do you really think the United States is interested in making a trade deal with Canada?
Look, we are their second largest trading partner. We provide a series of essential goods for their economy. We are one of many providers, but we provide in some areas essential goods for their economy. And we create more room for them to do other things. I'll give you an example. If you look at Canadian exports of aluminum to the United States, and aluminum is bauxite and energy. I mean, there's a little more to it, but you can simplify it to that. The embedded energy in the Canadian aluminum exports, which provides 60% of the aluminum to the U.S. market, is the equivalent of the energy of 10 Hoover dams in the United States. Now, is the best use of that scale of energy, creating that scale of energy to make aluminum in the United States, as opposed to continue to foster and power the AI revolution, which the U.S. is leading, or power homes and others? I mean, these are decisions for the United States to make. Point being, as a supplier to the United States, and I gave aluminum as one, I could give many examples, we are an important supplier in many areas. As well, we are a large customer. You know, for over 30 states, Canada is the largest export customer for those states in the United States. So there is a very strong, deep trading relationship, and there is an alignment of interests in many areas. And that's the reason why we have elements of the arrangements that we have today with a large degree of low tariff trade and the benefits from that. So, you know, we're ready to have those discussions to further improve them, and we'll have them when it's appropriate. But we're not resting, because we can build. You know, the return on building at home is far greater than the hit from trade turbulence with the United States, and the opportunities internationally are considerable. And candidly, Canada has not focused on the relationships to the same extent as we should have in any trading environment with the United States, let alone a situation where they're changing their trade policy. And that's what we're doing now.
So again, a whole lot more. Just keep calm and Carney on here. And as Kit PNC bio was saying here about the response, I believe stated that he believed, there we go, I thought the response from Canada was pitch perfect. We will let the toddler have his hissy, and we remain ready to talk when his tantrum is done. Pretty much, we're similar minds here on this one, Kit PNC bio. very similar minds on that. Prime Minister then continued on, was asked about contingency plans and the budget. So, or just contingency plans, and maintained that the budget was it. But we'll look at his response there.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Judy Trin with CTV News. Donald Trump says he doesn't want to see you at all at APEC. Has the Canadian government given any consideration to the possibility that he doesn't want to negotiate, and do you have a contingency plan for that?
We have lots of, yes. The short answer is yes. To your follow-up, no, I'm not about to detail those contingency plans. But I will go to the big, obvious plan that is there in plain sight and will be further detailed in the budget on November 4th. And we have been saying this for months. I said this before I was elected. Emphasize the importance of us giving ourselves far more than any foreign government could take away, whatever the trading environment. And that's to build at home and to build strong at home. And we intend to unleash hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of investment right here at home. Well, not right here, but metaphorically there at home in Canada while we're building these partnerships.
Less than a month ago, you were at the White House. You seemed very cordial, friendly with President Trump. The two of you were joking. You said you were going to walk away with a good deal. He said that we would be very happy. Is the U.S. toying with Canada, and how did your relationship with Donald Trump go south so fast?
It's a question for him.
Next question. Yasmin.
Yasmin Mehdi avec Radio-Canada. On
Merci.
avait
Okay.
l'impression.
So that last question, how did your relationship with him go south so fast? You'll have to ask him, because Mark Carney didn't place the ad. Donald Trump is not talking to Mark Carney for something Doug Ford did. Should have to ask Trump why the relationship went south. That's so well played. But again, totally nonplussed whatsoever. He's sitting there going, you'll have to ask Donald Trump is basically his version on beats me if I know. So, who knows why the guy does what he does? Oh man, I tell you. So the questions move to French a little bit. He's asked whether or not that's all there was. Was it the ad or something else? Prime Minister says that's pretty much all there was. What you seen is what you saw happen is what happened. There's nothing more than that. Asked in French whether or not he had asked Doug Ford to remove the ads and whether Doug Ford messed up the negotiations. He basically makes it clear that it's the responsibility of the federal government to negotiate international trade agreements. And says, we decided not to do any advertising stateside. It was a choice. For us, it was an obvious one. And for us, it was an obvious one not to do that. And then for the rest, well, it's relatively clear. And then he was pressed on whether or not this was an error from Doug Ford, and basically said he made a different decision from that of the government of Canada, which is responsible from the relationship. So not really wanting to rake Doug Ford over the coals here. So, but basically saying, regardless of what Doug Ford does, it is with us that the trade negotiation is going on. So while Doug Ford did something we wouldn't do, he made a different decision. Our decision was not that. And we are the ones who are responsible for the relationship. So, not punching Doug Ford. I'm guessing Mark Carney probably approves secretly. But turning around and saying, listen, Doug Ford does what he does, and that's his thing, and that's his relationship with the United States. We do our thing, and we did not do that. and it is our responsibility to negotiate that deal. So basically, whatever Doug Ford does shouldn't have any bearing on what it is that we do, because we don't make those choices. Okay. Um, then in English, he gets pressed again on the Doug Ford thing. Now, remember, kits and cubs, media, how would I put it, are often fight promoters more than they are information gatherers. So all these questions about Doug Ford, is there a rift? Are you mad? Are you pulling each other's hair? Are you going to call him? You still going to have sleepovers? Huh? That's a little bit what's going on. Are you blaming Doug Ford? Are you going to use this as political advantage? And prime ministers try not to use it as political advantage. Now, that doesn't mean that there still won't be a whole bunch of other people that won't want to blame Doug Ford. And if that's going to happen, the prime minister doesn't have to lift a finger. That will just happen organically. But on the other side of the ledger, which was really interesting, was, as I mentioned, Pierre Poilievre's response, which really, because that's the one I was worried about, because there is no love lost between Pierre Poilievre and Ford. So you'd think that of all people, Pierre Poilievre would be first in line to throw a few shots back Doug Ford's way, considering that, that Corey Tenake and all of them had landed a few against him, particularly during the election campaign. And, well, it seems not. So Pierre is still trying to blame this on Mark Carney somehow. And it just sort of makes me think, there we go. All of today's trade tariff chaos could have been avoided if Mark Carney had kept his promise to negotiate a win and get a deal by July 21st. Oh, you poor innocent soul. Pierre Poilievre wants to make you believe that even if Donald Trump had been serious about striking a deal, and that one could have been quickly done by the 21st, which would have taken this off the table, and we could have established a stability as quickly as possible, which was the goal at the time when we thought that Donald Trump wanted a deal because he's the deal maker, the art of the deal guy, till we learned that he doesn't want one, as we've seen now by the number of times the deadlines have been blown and the number of times he's just walked away from the table. So Pierre seems to live in a reality that had we been able to negotiate a win and get a deal by July 21st, that would have been the end of it, and all of this chaos could have been avoided. That Donald Trump would have been a good little boy and adhered to all the terms of the deal, given he's never shown any ability to adhere to any terms of any deal ever once. Okay. But his weak diplomacy and broken promises have left premiers no choice but to take things into their own hands. We must fight for our workers and businesses from a position of strength for a change. Of course, Pierre doesn't tell us how we get into a position of strength. Once Pierre is able to tell us how you nail Jell-O to a wall strongly, so that you can start to fight for your workers and businesses from a position of strength, then I'll be prepared to listen to what he has to say. But until he can do that, he needs to shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. This is just dumb. But Pierre Poilievre does not want to take a swipe at Doug Ford. Sounds like someone might be just a little chicken. So, more fight promotion. Let's see what Mark Carney said in English at this third attempt to get him to lay blame at the feet of Doug Ford.
Follow up when you come.
I'll ask a version of this so you can answer it.
I figured you might.
If it is true that a TV ad, that you were close to a deal exchanging term sheets, and a TV ad caused all of this to be canceled, halted, Trump does not want to meet, are you upset at Premier Doug Ford for running this ad? If this is true that this ad spoiled something that was very close?
Look, I'd say the following, which is that in any complicated, high-stakes negotiation. You can get unexpected twists and turns, and you have to keep your cool during those situations. It doesn't pay to be upset. Emotions don't carry you very far. And we had made progress, to repeat. And we stand by the progress that had been made. The Government of Canada does. And we are ready, when appropriate, to pick that up. And I'll just re-emphasize that it is the responsibility of the Government of Canada to have these negotiations. And others will have opinions, and others welcome free advice, unsolicited advice is entirely appropriate. Every Canadian is a stakeholder in these negotiations. Every Canadian is a stakeholder in the fact that we're making progress in ASEAN, that we have the agreement with Indonesia, that we have just decided to accelerate trade talks with the Philippines, with ASEAN as a whole. Every Canadian has a stakeholder, is a stakeholder in the evolution of our relationship with China. And the discussions that we will be having at APEC with giants there. So that's the focus. Sans émotion. Et on va continuer comme ça.
Follow-up?
That's the focus, without emotions, and we are going to continue in that way. This next answer here to a question indicates where there might be a limit to one of Trump's strategies, because, as you know, ASEAN nations are, or as you might know, ASEAN nations is a group of nations that doesn't include China, and then you get to APEC, which is the other conference that the Prime Minister will be going to, and that's the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Group, and I believe that China is a member of that one, because that's 21 member economies in that one, in that group. So, and then there will be meetings with Chairman Xi Jinping at that event. There is also supposed to be meetings between Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump, because they have agreed on a framework of a trade deal ahead of their meeting, according to the BBC. The U.S. and China have agreed the framework of a potential trade deal that will be discussed when the respective leaders meet later this week. Scott Bessent told BBC News partner CBS that this includes a final deal on TikTok's U.S. operations and a deferral on China's tightened rare earth mineral controls. He also said he did not anticipate the 100% tariff on Chinese goods threatened by President Donald Trump coming into force, while China will resume substantial soybean purchases from the U.S. Both nations are seeking to avoid further escalation in a trade war between the world's two largest economies. They are due to hold talks on Thursday in South Korea. I'm not sure when the talks between Carney and Xi Jinping are scheduled specifically, because there was some chatter in the chat about which talks would come first in there, and that I'm afraid I do not know at the moment. But yes, it seems that we might be the thing here, the danger, and I can't remember who I heard say this on a podcast, I wish I had noted that, is that the danger here is that we make some short-term decisions with countries like India and China, who also don't necessarily have our best interests in hand, in order to say that we're moving away from the United States. But the deals that we're making with them have to be very, very, very precise and structured, so that we're not doing the situation of running from one bully's arms into the arms of other bullies. Because as charming as China is being right now, they're trying a charm offensive on us again. They seem to be moving a little bit away from hostage diplomacy and all that kind of stuff, which didn't work, and trying to do a charm offensive again, now that the United States is basically punching down on us. China sliding up and going, "Hey, you're looking good. We haven't talked in a while, but you miss me yet?" type thing. So it's how would I put it? Yes, we can use this opportunity in China as well. They are being hit as well, and therefore they would probably like to show the United States that we don't need you as much as well. So this is a good opportunity for us to let go of some of the acrimony because, well, necessity makes it such that we need to in this case, but not to be so eager to do that that we're willing to make some strategic long-term mistake just for the sake of getting a short-term win now, right? So these types of with negotiations like this with big power nations that are also bullies, um, uh, but that we need to deal with if we are going to diversify trade. We have to be very careful in which ways and in which sectors we are doing that so as to not set us up. For example, having 100% tariffs slapped on canola products, and then all of a sudden having an entire sector of the agriculture and agri-food industry be hobbled. Right? We can't make those types of deals anymore. Right? So yeah, there is going to be some stuff going on here. So let's just take a look at this answer because that's what made me think about it. It seems that in Trump, in doing this, just as we're about to have a meeting with Chairman Xi Jinping, is pushing us right into the arms of China, which I'm not sure is something that he wants to actually do.
And just to cast things ahead to where you're going later this week in Korea, can you give us an update on, do you expect to meet the Chinese president at APEC? And what kind of conversations do you expect to have with the Chinese delegation there?
I do expect to, there are plans for me and President Xi to meet. We will pick up on the discussions I had with Premier Li in New York a few weeks ago. A broad range of issues, both in terms of the commercial relationship, as well as the evolution of the global system. So I look forward to the meeting with the President. Il y aura une réunion pour moi.
So there you go, kits and cubs with that. There's more to the press conference. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark, so I will save whatever stuff that there is left for a future show if there's something to bring you in addition. But you are getting the overall gist of it, kits and cubs here. Very calm, very cool, nonplussed. As the commercial goes, never let them see you sweat. Doesn't seem to be too upset here at the moment. And even if he was upset, I've got 9 days in Asia, and I got, pardon my language, but I got shit to do while I'm here. And so for the next 9 days, if he doesn't want to talk to me, that's quite fine because I'm rather full up and busy right now. And that actually lightens my load because having to do all the stuff that I need to do over the next 9 days while also taking care of the extremely high maintenance President of the United States, whose needs are never ending and cannot be fulfilled in any way, shape, or form, is a heavy burden. So if I could be relieved of that for the next 9 days and focus entirely on making these other trade deals, I'm not going to cry. Thanks for doing me a favor, Donald. We'll see. We'll see whether or not that maintains. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like us to help you because sometimes you are on the go and you're not able to listen to the entire show live, well, hey, thanks to the Ray Girl, we have a podcast version available via our pod page. If you scan that QR code, it will bring you right there. podpage.com/the truenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, zip, it comes right to your favorite feed and is waiting for you to pop us into your ears and take us with you. We are aerodynamic and lightweight, so please do look for us there. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, well, please surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. The QR code has just appeared, and Kits, Cassie, and Lane will definitely be there to greet you and ask you to play with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Please do that. It makes us very happy when you do, and it helps us with the algorithm. We need to see those numbers go up, so thank you for all of your support. And Kits and Cubs, if you would like to help us in yet other ways, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you. And we would be very, very, very grateful for your assistance in helping us cover the costs that we incur in doing it. And if you would like to do that, then Kits and Cubs, you can go to our coffee page. Whoops. Sorry, there was some sound that came out of my phone that should not have come out of my phone. Kits and Cubs, you could go to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can find the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund tip jar, where you can fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Because, as you know, a moist beaver is a very happy beaver. And as you could tell, you have a bit of a scratchy beaver this morning. My throat, sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. Pardon me, I actually do have to cough. There we go. Thank you very much for that. A little beaver moistness right here in the cup. And everything is better all of a sudden. So thank you for everything that you are able to contribute. And of course, remember, we have the super chat and we have memberships on our YouTube page. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address where you can send a direct bank transfer instead, because that keeps your transaction 100% Canadian, nothing for the USC Tech Bros. And we get 100% of your donation, which means it goes further. And thank you for all of that support. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is also the email address at which you can write us to let us know what you think about the show. Because, hey, if you can't contribute financially, why not let us know what we can do to make the show better, or suggest some guests that you would like us to have on so that we may present to you some content that you would enjoy. Thank you. We're not able to read all of your comments, of course, but everything you do send us, we're not able to respond to all of your comments, but we read all of your comments and we really appreciate them, because whether your contributions are financial or in word, they all go back into the show to make them better. And if you want to reach us via our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge on the shitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home, or right down here in the comment section, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, is where you can chat with us as well. And we also have an Instagram channel started. So if somebody would put the link to that in the chat, Kit Uncover, that would be very useful. And of course, the DamFam Discord, so that the fun and the conversation keeps on. Kit PNC Bio had mentioned during the chat that there would be some stuff going on there relatively soon. So like I said, the DamFam, don't stop just because the show does. No, don't. Thank you for all that you do, Kids and Cubs, to help us with that. Because democracy is something that you do, Kids and Cubs, remember forevercanadian.ca. We're in the final days here, final push, maybe 2 or 3 days. I think they might need to be done by around the 30th, I think it is. So please get your signature in there. At the halfway mark, they had 230,000. We're looking to get to at least 300,000, probably more, so that Danielle doesn't try to disallow certain signatures, to make sure that can get on the Citizens Initiative ballot a question to keep Alberta within Canada. So please go to forever-canadian.ca and find out where your pop-up signature locations are. Final push, tell your friends, get everybody to do it. It really matters. And thank you so much. Kids and Cubs, as usual as well, House of Commons petition E-6679 is up there for you. 37,819 signatures in order to bring a little more honesty into our politics, and for there to be some consequences should there be politicians who deliberately misspread differently misread, deliberately spread misinformation. Got a little mixed up in my syllables there. And if you would like to fight that and you would like there to be consequences, I just put the link in the chat for you there. And Kids and Cubs, I know you've been sending me other petitions. There have been some good ones, I think one on healthcare and one on media ownership. I will try to find some time to get them in at some point along the way there. But thank you for bringing them to my attention. But yes, there are other ones out there for you to sign as well, Kids and Cubs. So please check them out. But this one we are particularly promoting because we had a guest on our show to talk about that. And if you haven't seen our episode, interview 81 from our interview project with Fed Sanchez, to find out more about that petition, please do. And about petitions in general, actually, and how you might be able to start one yourself. It's a really good episode. Thank you. Oh, and big shout out to Canadian Veterans ABC, who spotted the episode, really liked it, and promoted it through their avenues as well. We really appreciate the support, and thank you so much for all that you do to keep Canadians informed as well. Okay, Kids and Cubs. Words is there more to do? Oh yes, I forgot. Today, for some reason, I only found out on the weekend, and I should have known this way before, and I'm so sorry, but it is Territorial Elections Day in Nunavut. Um, I'm sorry I wasn't been able to give more warning and include it in the democracy is something that you do section for several weeks prior to it. That is my bad. I did not go and check at all. And this is my bad. I should have known about that. Bad Beaver. I I just and I know that there would have been something coming up because we reported on former Premier PG Akiagok, or maybe he's still Premier. I'm not sure. Yeah, he said he was going to step down soon, but announcing that he was going to resign. And I thought that there would be. Looking forward to a leadership race or that type of thing. But I did not, it never occurred to me that the election, as is in the case for Yukon, would be happening soon after. So that's my bad. But according to CTV News and the Canadian Press, it's Election Day in Nunavut. Residents across 22 constituencies are to head to the polls to elect their next members of the Legislative Assembly. The territory has a consensus style of government rather than the more common multi-party system, so candidates run as independents. The candidate who receives the most votes in a constituency becomes the MLA. After the election, the MLAs will select the speaker, premier, and ministers in a secret ballot election. Premier PJ Agiagok, who represented the Iqaluit Nyakungu riding, announced in July he isn't seeking re-election and plans to spend more time with his family. MLA and Health Minister John Main, who is running again in the Arviat North Whale Cove riding, said several issues are at stake. Quote, healthcare is a big one, he said in an interview last month. Our communities are fly in, fly out. We end up having to send a lot of patients out of territory for care. We need more health resources at the community level, and that includes infrastructure and staff. Other issues he's hoping to address if he wins another term are Nunavut's high unemployment rate, which sits at about 10%, and the housing crisis. Quote, growth of the housing stock has not kept up with the growth of our population, and so that's resulted in overcrowded living conditions for far too many of my constituents, he said. Tony Uluwadluak, the only other candidate running against Maine, said on his social media if elected, he would tackle the housing and affordability crises, as well as work to sustain the Inuktitut language and encourage youth to pursue education. Quote, to sustain our Inuktitut language, we must continue to practice and use our language at home, at the schools, at workplaces, and around the community, he said in a post earlier this month. Campaigning in the vast 1.8 million square kilometer Inuit majority territory of about 40,000 people is quite unique. A typical Canadian campaign includes door knocking. It's common in Nunavut to walk into homes without knocking, and instead of rallies, Maine said several candidates host low-key meet and greets with lots of food. Bain said he has traveled hundreds of kilometers by boat and planes to various homes and communities to greet people during campaigns. Quote, it's a lot of fun. You get to speak to a lot of people. I don't know how things are going to turn out exactly, but I'm not anticipating having a lot of regrets at the end of it. Win or lose, it's enriching. Polls are open until 7 p.m. local time. And I hope to be able to bring you results tomorrow. And again, so sorry to any listeners that we had in Nunavut that I had not been talking about this beforehand. I failed to do my research. And that's my bad. All right. Kits and Cubs, as we mentioned as well, municipal elections going on in the province of Quebec November 2nd and Yukon territorial elections. Did I say September 2nd? November 2nd and Yukon territorial elections on November 3rd. Those are coming up very soon as well. All right. Words of wisdom, Kits and Cubs. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take a page from the Prime Minister. We take note of the fact that there's some disruption. We expect it to simmer down at some point. And in the meantime, because we're not only doing one thing, we are taking, I guess this would be my words of wisdom. When you have several things to do and something that's really important is hitting a snag or just not going as well as it should, set it aside for a while and dedicate that time and energy on another project that you might be able to advance more. Come back to the other one, of course, but rather than working harder at something that's not working, choose to work on something else for a while and advance that and come back to the thing that's not working later. That would be my advice today, my words of wisdom. Kits and Cubs, could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now at the count of 3, may I please have you cue the cock? 1, 2, 3. There it is. There it is. Okay. A little of that and a little bit of that, but I will come back for a quick Easter egg.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
All right, Kits and Cubs, a little bit of news, Canadians who make us proud. First off, Blue Jays, really great game 1. Game 2, not so great, but not a necessarily bad performance. I mean, the Dodgers pitcher threw a full match, completed a game. I mean, he was on fire. But game 3 tonight, 8 p.m. So let's tune in there. Go Jays, go Jays, go Jays. Over the course of the weekend at the PGA Tour Bank of Utah Championships, it was heavy, big mess there. But Benjamin Silverman of Canada finished 3rd in that tournament, which is a very, very great result, probably the best result of career. The thing is that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who tied for 3rd place at that tournament. So, but congratulations to him on a absolutely fantastic result. Probably, like I said, a career result for him. And I would suspect that given that it's a PGA Tour event, finishing 3rd has some very interesting prize money there. Also, we have a new superstar in the world of gymnastics, Kits and Cubs, artistic gymnastics, and I will show you her picture. This young girl here, I believe, is only 16 years old. And while she was at the World Artistic Gymnastics Championships, she, at her first ever World Championships, picked up the silver medal in the vault individual apparatus event. Leah Monica Fontaine won't forget her first trip to the FIG Artistic Gymnastic World Championships anytime soon. The 16-year-old from Salaberry de Valleyfield, Quebec, won the silver medal in the women's vault on the final Friday in Jakarta, Indonesia. She earned a score of 14.033 points for her two vaults, placing her behind neutral athlete Angelina Melnikova, who claimed the gold medal with 14.466, and American Jocelyn Robertson took bronze with a score of 13.983. Quote, coming into these worlds, like I know I'm pretty good on vault, so I was looking forward to doing the final, but I didn't know that getting a medal would be possible, Fontaine said of winning silver at her first world championships. It means a lot to me because I've been working so hard in the gym and showing that to everybody here. It just makes me very proud. So there you go. Each apparatus final at the World Championships features only the top 8 athletes from the qualification round, and Fontaine had ranked third among the qualifiers in the women's vault final and managed to upgrade that to one more for silver. It's only the second ever world championship medal for women in vault. Shalyn Olsen won silver in 2018. But yeah, in her first year of senior eligibility, Fontaine won 4 individual medals at the 2025 Pan American Championships this past June, including silver in the all-around and vault, gold in the floor exercise, and bronze on the uneven bars. Also on Friday, Aiden Lee, another World Championship rookie, finished 8th in the men's pommel horse final, qualified with the 5th best score and the highest ever World Championship ranking by a Canadian on the apparatus. Wow. Then there were World Championships were set to conclude on Saturday with 5 more apparatus finals, including Ellie Black competing in the beam final after she qualified in 4th place. And I'm just going to take a look here at how she did because this article was not updated to include that. And she concluded with a 5th place in the beam final. So 3 Canadians making apparatus finals at the World Artistic Gymnastic Championships, and one of them scoring a silver medal. So that is an extremely big deal. Congratulations, Mademoiselle Fontaine, on an absolutely stellar performance and making us so proud. And the final little bit I have for you here is, and this is a sport we don't talk about a lot, but sailing. Antonia and Georgia Lewin-Lafrance captured bronze at the 2025 Sailing World Championships in the 49er, 49er FX, and NACRA 17 classes on Sunday, making history as Canada's first ever medalists at the event. The Chester, Nova Scotia natives made history for Canada with not only the first medal in their specific event, but also their nation's first World Championship podium in over 2 decades. Wow. Okay. That is pretty good. Over the summer, the pair of sisters won the gold medal at the 2025 49er, 49er FX. Sorry, I dropped something. NACRA 17 European Championships in June, in addition to taking bronze at 2 sailing Grand Slam events, French Olympic Week and Kiel Week. And here, kits and cubs, a photo of those winners so that we can get to know them a little better. And who knows, maybe there will be some Olympic medals in sailing in the future in LA, thanks to these 2. But congratulations on a job well done, Canadians who keep on making us proud. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I got for you for today. So, like magic, I am now going to disappear. Have a beaverific day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye. Amour et bisous.